podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
First whistle, cuts through the bars. Millwall, Millwall, running again. We don't care what they all stand in the stand. Millwall, Millwall.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Monday with Merv, with me, Nick Hart, and my compatriot, Merv Payne. Merv, we've just been joking off air about calling this show Achtung Grandad, haven't we? We've both been tied up with Grandad-related duties today.
Yeah, both on Grandad duty. Yeah, making me feel very
And we're
old.
recording later in the day, listeners, and Merv's just made a great point that we're going to borrow Clive Dunn's Grandad single for this Run for the Kids from God knows when in the 1970s, or he certainly he's rolled in Dad's army, and say, don't panic, Merv. Don't panic over that 3-1 home defeat to Pompey Saturday.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't panic, Mr. Madden.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I did. I had once the initial sort of disappointment had died down. I did chuckle to myself when I was thinking about this chatting with you today, because I think between us we must have well over 100 years of sort of Mill.
Yeah.
And yet there we were last week getting all giddy, talking about possibilities of the top two, 87, 88 and all that, and then along come Pompey. And this, I mean this with no disrespect, but I mean the three standout players for Pompey were Marlon Pack, Colby Bishop, and Ibu Adams, who aren't like big money signings, are they?
No, they're not.
They are
They're
journeymen.
not championship household names, are they? They're lesser lights.
Yeah, and it shows the strength of the championship because, say, Pompey are struggling against relegation, but they're fresh off the back of winning at Charlton a few days before.
Yeah,
and I mean, you have to admit, and I've seen a lot of Millwall fans on social media holding their hands up and saying, look, we were well beaten, but there were still some worryingly sort of quiet performances. But
there's a lot to pick up on.
We've always said sometimes you have to put that down to the opposition, perhaps getting their tactics right or being better at doing what they did than we were.
Well, they brought the energy, and I don't think we were quite expecting that. I think there's a danger in this, and I think this is a very Millwall trait. We're not a ruthless club. We get ourselves overexcited, and then plunge into the depths of depression when things don't go right.
Yeah.
But I think there was a certain sense, and I think it ignores some of the recent performances, which haven't been firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back to Sheffield Wednesday last week, where we weren't brilliant, but we won. And I think there's a certain sense that we're just going to have to turn up, put the shirts on, and run out and seem to roll over. Well, it turns out that Pompey weren't for rolling over. They needed the points. They brought the energy. They want the points to get away from relegation, Merv.
This is the problem now. We're going into the last 13 games of the season, and such as the Championship. Pretty much, there's virtually no dead rubbers.
No.
Pretty much everyone we face now is going to have something to aim for, whether it's survival or the playoffs. Or
looking up,
even a late run at the playoffs, because saw a ridiculous stat. I think it goes down to about 13th or 14th who could realistically look at nicking the 6th spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an indicator of how open the Championship is this year, but that's probably why we're doing one of the reasons why we've done so well, because it's very open.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a new sort of test now. We've spent maybe 2/3 of the season getting ourselves in this really good position, but now the real test is, in previous seasons we talked about this as well. In previous seasons we've had slow starts. We've been going into the last 15 matches, maybe 10th, 12th, put a little run together and just falling short. But now it's completely different. The expectation is on us now. Now, rather than could we make the playoff? Now it's we better make the playoffs. And I wonder what that sort of pressure what effect that pressure will have as well.
Well, it finds you out. It finds all players. I mean, it's quite noticeable how some of the other results around us. I think Coventry won, Wrexham won, didn't they? And they beat Ipswich, who have been high flying Ipswich.
Yeah,
I think the pressure does tell. These Championship level, there'll be very few players. Some will have had experience of the big time high level, but most have not managed pressure as a part of their everyday footballing life. We certainly haven't as a club. We're eternal cup kind of chipping against the odds types, aren't we? So to be ruthless requires a different level, and we've got to find that mentality. I think Alex Neil, when he was speaking after the game, a couple of things actually about the post-match interviews. We'll come back to Casper De Noor in a moment, but he said there's, not panic, basically what we just said. Corporal Jones, don't panic. There's still, I think, it's one third of the season, a quarter of the season to go, 12,
Yeah.
13 games.
Yeah.
So a lot of points at stake. So you don't want to overcook it.
No.
You do want to see where it went wrong and ask
Yeah.
why it went wrong. And on that point, Casper De Noor has been taking a bit of heat online. There's a post-match interview with him on Millwall TV.
Yeah.
Where he used the words Pompey seemed to wanted it more, and then off you go with people saying all sorts of silly things.
Yeah.
It wasn't Casper's best game, but I think he actually had a point. For some reason we couldn't find the spark on Saturday.
No, yeah, I've thought a lot about this. I've had a conversation with someone about saying, as the club owns the content, would it have been better perhaps to have cut it or redone it? And is it
Possibly.
not the best? But then I've thought about it some more, and I'm thinking this: they wanted it more than us. It's become one of football's many cliches, hasn't it? It's become like at the end of the day and all that sort of thing. Take each game as it comes, and and I think football. I mean, I can't imagine many of our players have had media training. I don't see why they'd need to.
Casper's also speaking in the second language. I know that the Belgians and the Dutch speak English brilliantly, but it's still their second language.
I think
phraseology.
Yeah, exactly. I think they'd also maybe think that to sort of get them through the interview, they'll pluck a few cliches out of the air. I think the problem is it's how it when the manager says it. So if Alex Neil had said they wanted it more than us, you see that as more like a retrospective criticism. He's saying,
they look
like they wanted more. When a player says it, you almost think that he's sort of saying, "Oh, we couldn't be asked today." Like
it's an admission of
when you go into
in some respect.
Go through the motions. I can't be asked. But obviously, no one's suggesting that for a minute. I think it was just, I think it boiled over. It was for me not so much bad or an error, just a bit of an eyebrow raiser, really. Because again, as I mentioned, I think it'll be the ex equivalent of tomorrow's chip paper, isn't it? Really, stuff like that. It should be rolled through and forgotten, and people will say, "Well, you mentioned it, it's making it worse." But I don't think it's that much of an issue. I do think it's more lost in cliche, to be honest. I think that's what it is. It's just he's trying to think of a diplomatic way to explain what went wrong, sort of thing. People say bad day at the office and that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's. I was trying to think of a better cliche than that. The cliche I hate, listeners, incident is fine margins. Game of fine margins. Yeah. I hate that. I don't know why I hate it. I just do. But it's funny, Casper. I had good fortune to be in the inner sanctum of the 1885 club on Saturday, Merv. So Casper. Casper was actually nominated as the Millwall man of the match. He actually came into the bar. Fair play to him. He's still in the kit, and he didn't say that. When he was given the microphone by the host Wesley Reed, he said something about how we didn't play as well as we should have, and words to that effect. He certainly didn't say Pompey wanted it more.
No,
I think it was just a passing phrase that came off his lips.
Literally a throwaway phrase. Yeah, I mean, he's probably an hour after the game's finished. He has a microphone stuck under his mouth, and he's probably inside. He's thinking, "I just want to get this over with and carry on, crack on, whatever." And I think, you say these things without thinking. We all do sometimes, don't we? Really, but
I mean, whether the club should have let him say it on camera, don't know. Off you go with that one, listeners. Make your own mind up. I've written a few questions down. I'm going to eliminate the Casper De Noor question off my little list here, Merv.
Me too.
I mean, obviously a 3-1 loss, listeners. Each of the goals, I think you can probably come back to poor defending. I mean, the brain freeze for the opening goal was the most striking moment. The others, I think, were as a result of it, in a way, Merv. It seemed to send a bit of a shockwave through the side and leading to poor defending afterwards.
Yeah, because we'd had a poor first half, hadn't we? When you have a quiet or poor first half, you just hope. You think, well, let's hope. Alex Neil's given them a bit of a rocket. They come out pumped up and ready to go. And when you concede so quickly like that, it's a slap in the face. And I mean, I've watched that goal so many times, and thanks to the wonders of all the various TV outlets now, from about 4 different angles. And I think it was saying, basically, what the hell was Alfie Doherty doing? He ran away from the ball.
Well, they switched off. Everyone switched off for a moment.
Really good angle I saw this morning for the first time, and it's from the actual Millwall goal, from the actual away end sort of thing.
Right.
You really see the move develop because it's a good ball from Marlon Pack.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like an incisive pre-planned pass. It was just he just hacked it into the danger area, and because we were committing defenders forward trying to attack, it caught us sort of off guard. So we're backpedaling, and you see sort of Jake Cooper goes for the ball with the Portsmouth player. The Portsmouth player goes down. I think then for a split second we're perhaps expecting a free kick to be given.
I think everyone froze at that point. That's the brain freeze.
Caballero is so far away. No one is involved. What it is, it's Cooper, Doughty, and Taylor, and the ball, and this Pompey player on the floor. Then sort of Caballero's sort of flying from behind Doughty. Doughty, then you can see Doughty goes to move back to his left back position, away from the ball, thinking that Caleb Taylor's going to get it. And it's a bit of a reverse Chuckle Brothers manoeuvre. It's like, well, you have it, no, you have it. And then suddenly from nowhere, this Caballero fella comes flying, and you see the look of absolute shock on Doughty's face when he realises he's running in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Caballero's nicking the ball, and before he can do anything about it, and I say he's had a lot of stick Doughty, and I think some of it's been a bit unfair. Because these things just happen. They just happen. Sometimes
people look for scapegoats, Merv. I mean, I think there's a brain freeze, and you can, of course, they shouldn't have done that.
No.
But I think the people then start to look for scapegoats, including my next question was bringing in Patterson.
Yeah.
Noticeably better on improvement on Max Crocombe. I'm not sure it was personally. We've only seen him the once, so it's an unfair judgment, really. And I'm saying that, reproaching myself. But I wouldn't have broken up a winning team, Merv. Would you, mate? Would you have done?
No, I looked at Crocombe's stats for the season, and they're really impressive. It's like 23 games, 9 clean sheets, and it was a bit strange. But then the trouble was the goal we conceded at Sheffield Wednesday. You perhaps could have put down.
He spilled it, in front of a striker.
But to drop a goalkeeper was in pretty good form for one mistake when we've actually won the match. Again, it's harsh. And I thought there was an Alex Neil interview on News at Den I read earlier today. He sort of explained the thought process, and I don't think it really helped, to be honest, because he's basically alluded to the fact that obviously Patterson's come in. He was second choice at London. He's coming to Millwall, and the plan was always to ease him into the first team. Yeah. He says he didn't want a situation where Crocombe gets injured. So basically, where he's sticking with Crocombe gets injured, and Patterson's coming in cold with 5 games to go. So he thought he'd ease him in. But then he said, and also Max made a bit of a mistake at Sheffield Wednesday last week. So I sort of winced when I read that, and I thought, well, that's a bit, that's a bit like, it sort of feels like he was just waiting for any excuse to get him in there. And
that's what struck me, Merv. I thought, we've signed this names goalkeeper, the Sunderland, Premier League Sunderland, blah blah blah, and we were looking for an excuse almost. And that spill at Sheffield Wednesday seemed to be the excuse needed. Yeah. I hope it wasn't that, but
I'd love to know what Max Crocombe is thinking or saying, or certainly thinking.
You'd be gutted. I think
gutted, no doubt. Yeah, I don't think we can expect him to be so charitable that he says, "Oh well, I was brought in as a number 2 anyway,
no,
so I'll be on number 2." But no, he's earned his place. I think he's earned his place. The trouble is, I think Alex Neil was in a no-win situation, because you know what fans are like. Had we kept Crocombe and lost 3-1, even though none of the goals were Patterson's fault, fans still would have said, "Oh, you should have played Patterson." Oh, if we do play Patterson, we'd have got at least a draw out of that. Because we all know better, don't we, in hindsight? That's the problem.
Well, that's right. But I mean, fine margins. I'm going to use my own cliche. Fine margins. If that Femi cross had gone in the first half, or if that Jake Cooper header had been, I don't know, a yard or 2 either side of goal, different game. Fine margins, listeners. Here we are. I
think the concerning thing for me is obviously with Coburn's illness, he was a late withdrawal.
Yeah,
It highlighted our lack of depth in sort of goal scoring players.
Poor Ivanovic looked a bit lost up front, didn't he?
Femi weighs out. I know Femi weighs in with goals, but he's not an out-and-out striker. And you mentioned Wrexham earlier getting 5 against Ipswich. I think they've got about 5 or 6 outright strikers there. So stockpiling them, and they've sold one to Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Brought in Kalamari from Sheffield Wednesday,
which is an area we didn't really reinforce in the window.
People were crying out for a proven striker, which is it's like
goals.
Yeah.
What you want, isn't it?
You can just, but all the while we've got Ivanovic, Coburn, and Langstaff, you could say, well, we're probably okay. But then there's the age-old issue of, well, what if one of them gets injured? Then we're down to two players. whole squad that's job is to actually just score goals.
Also meant that I mean, with Coburn out sick, whatever is, as my old nan used to call it, maybe the backdoor trot Merv or something of that kind. Who knows what it was? But anyway, it means that we can't really play with a two-man strike force really, which is kind of like what all of them I think ideally want is that support of maybe a Macaulay alongside them to do the running and in that kind of Lee Gregory to Steve Morrison kind of setup.
Definitely.
But there we are. They have a question here. Doughty for Sturge on Wednesday night. I've written question mark. Wasn't Doughty make some decent passes, but I just like the pace of Zach Sturge, Merv, personally. I don't know. Would you make changes Wednesday? Would you bring Bannon in?
Well, I think my biggest concern is obviously we played Pompey away and we were quite convincingly beaten.
Yeah.
They've done the same to us at home.
They've doubled us, yeah.
And remembering what Birmingham did to us in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And I think that was a similar sort of... There's certain teams we've played this season. I think Pompey, Birmingham, Coventry at home, Middlesbrough at home.
Yeah.
And you feel like they can score at will. For whatever reason, they've looked at us. We've been scattered. They've looked at it and they've seen...
They've got the cheat codes on us, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got They've got the pace, and it's pace. I think that does for us. They think, right, we've got these.
Yeah.
Other teams can look at us. The likes of Southampton or whatever can say, oh, yeah, this is how you beat them, but we haven't got the players to do it, so we've got to do it this way. My concern is if that's the case with Birmingham, then we do need to change things up.
I agree. Yeah,
because I think, like I say, we're not panicking. It's 13 games, it's a lot, but as you know, this stage of the season, 13 games suddenly becomes 4 or 5, and all of a sudden you're looking at the table and thinking we need 3 points and we've only got 2 games left, and that's what we don't really want. The season does disappear very, very quickly because you have Easter coming up, don't you? And you play loads of games over that time.
Yeah,
midweek games, stuff like they're coming thick and fast. So yeah, it's a I wouldn't say pivotal to the season, but we may well look back when it's all done and dusted and say that this week,
this one. I mean,
this week was the turning point one way or another when we lost to Pompey, whatever we did against Birmingham, and then Preston away on Saturday. Hull, fortunately, aren't in great form either. They look
they've hit the wobbles, haven't they?
So we can only hope that perhaps that carries on. But yeah, I mean, we go on about, and we spoke last week about this. People say the mark of a good team is when you can win when you play bad. Trouble is, you can't get away with that every week, as you mentioned.
No. You got to play good at some point.
Yeah, you can't say, oh, well, if we don't play well this week, we'll probably scrape a win, because you're not. Because you're going to come up against teams like Portsmouth who won't let you do that. They'll capitalise on you playing bad. So we need to refine that sort of that bit of finesse, I think, and that's what hopefully Alex Neil's doing on the training pitch at the moment.
Yes, I imagine there would have been a few conversations at Calmont Road, I think, being realistic. But we've got a huge match on Wednesday night. Birmingham now sitting 7th, Merv. They'll be looking for a win.
Yeah.
They are behind Wrexham 3 points, 2 points behind them, sorry. So, yeah, a win for Birmingham will put them into the top 6, and ourselves, of course, want to maintain our position. So that's a huge game, and Alex Neil will have the heat on him to get the selection right on Wednesday night. Then we're off to Preston, who also are only a point behind. It's a very condensed.
It is. I think Preston are 10th, and yet they're still on the fringes of the playoff places.
You said it at the start of the conversation, all the way down to, I suppose, QPR, arguably even Sheffield United in 14th. Dismissed themselves.
I watched the Sheffield Wednesday game on Sunday, yesterday, and the commentator made the point that he said if they win today, they're 6 points off the playoff place.
Yeah.
And I think they lost the first 7 games of the season before they
had an awful start, but they got the resources, and I think they got the team and the manager to produce that run.
Had they brought Chris Wilder in maybe a month earlier, they probably would have been in the playoff places. They probably would have had those extra 6 points and be in the playoff places. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it. There's every year someone makes a late run. I would not put it past them at all. All it takes is for someone like them to go on a 4 or 5 match winning run, because everyone's playing each other and cancelling each other out. Suddenly they're right in the thick of it.
Absolutely. So 6 huge points at stake Wednesday night, and then up at Deepdale on Saturday. So I shall be at both gods of football willing. It's not British Railway, was it? But anyway, railways allowing. 10th sellout of the season, incidentally, Merv. That's quite a record. That's never been known. I've never known Mill sell out so much.
Yeah, 10th sellout, and I think we've broken the stadium attendance record twice because they're sort of being a bit more flexible with the away end. I think that's more down to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Giving the bottom tier out, which it's great. It's great for the club. It's great for the finances and what have you. But yeah, I think it also, again, talk about pressure. Maybe it also puts another little bit of pressure on the players, a bit more expectancy.
This is the top table. This is what you've got to be dealing with.
They've got to be up for it. Yeah.
If you don't like that, you can go down to Dagenham and Redbridge or somewhere and play your football in front of double-digit crowds or something. I don't know. There we are. We await Wednesday night with some anticipation mixed with trepidation. Merv, good to see you, Grandad.
And you, Grandad. Well, there you go.
Cheers. And we'll be back next week with Merv. But do stay tuned, listeners. We've got a whole load of voicemails from Saturday's loss, so stay tuned.
Achtung, Millwall.
Welcome back to the show, dear listeners. Now, as I've just said to Merv, and a big thank you to Merv for joining me later in the day than normal. I've had a bit of a condensed day for various familial reasons, so I'm running a little bit hot on the show tonight, so we won't get all of the voice notes in because I want to give a little bit of personal reaction to some of them. So I'm going to be doing another show, listeners, you lucky people. Another show I'll do tomorrow and I'll hopefully have a bit more time to play with. So if you don't hear your voicemails in this show, all you contributors, and I really appreciate your contributions to these shows, you will hear it tomorrow. I'm not sure I'll get everyone in tonight and my bit of burble as well. So if you don't hear yourself on this one, tune in for tomorrow's show instead. So massive thank you to everyone. We're going to begin our reaction to Saturday's disappointment. Let's have a listen first of all to Glyn Horner. Take it away, Glyn.
Hi Nick, Glyn here. So well-deserved defeat. Really looked hapless and clueless, really. I mean, the team just didn't seem to have any ideas how to create any threat going forwards. Ivanovic may as well not been on the pitch. The amount of decent balls he got passed to him. Feel sorry for the kid, to be totally honest with you. Watson showed moments of brightness, but ultimately I think just, really was fighting a battle, losing battle on his own. And, behind him, Doughty wasn't really playing up to the usual standards you'd expect from him either. I really have to focus on this whole goalkeeper situation now. I mean, we've had a goalkeeper who's been in tremendous form. Yes, he's made a couple of errors, but not many at all. And largely speaking, he's won us a lot of points. And I couldn't understand why everybody was so convinced that Patterson was going to just drop in and be better. Because everybody just knew that he was going to be better and we should drop Crocombe because Patterson's the proven player. He hasn't played proper football for months. He's turned up and, he hasn't been dropped straight in the team, which I think told me that, he wasn't ready. And he's come in, and quite frankly, I think there's 2 goals there that you could put straight down to him, because if Crocombe had made the same mistakes that he'd made, then we would all be blasting Crocombe for not being good enough. So now we've got another problem because we've dropped a keeper who was in good form, and now, he's probably sitting there sort of feeling a little bit hard done by. We've put in another keeper who's come in and clearly doesn't look ready yet. And we can't backtrack on that now because that's going to make, the management team seem like they don't know what they're doing. And, I would imagine both players are going to be sitting there thinking, well, what the hell, give me a chance. Or Crocombe's going to be thinking, why did you drop me in the first place? And we've made the situation worse. And it's this ridiculous. And this, it's a societal problem where everything goes wrong. And we think, the only thing that's going to fix this is if we change the personnel. Well, guess what? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it makes the situation worse and you just swap the problems that you had with a whole new load of different problems. I'm disappointed for Crocombe. I think it was a bad decision, and maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe Patterson, like most of our goalkeepers, will start off poorly and then come good. But on today's performance, not impressed. Anyway, okay, on to the next game. I think it's Birmingham, isn't it? Come on, you Lions.
Well said, Glyn. My opinions entirely. I didn't see enough reasons to drop Max Crocombe, and incidentally, we're in third position as a result. Largely speaking, I know there's a few games with Stephen Bender, but mostly our rise in form has been including Max Crocombe in goal. And yes, he spilled the ball at Sheffield Wednesday, and we got ourselves out of trouble by scoring 2 down the other end. He also made quite a few decent saves up there at Sheffield, and has repeatedly across the season. Show me a goalkeeper that never makes A, an error, or B, that can match save for you by producing crucial. They're rare. I think Max Crocombe is a decent goalkeeper. I don't understand, in truth, why Patterson was brought in. Because I haven't seen enough mishaps and errors from Crocombe to justify that decision. I actually think it was an error an error of selection by management. That means Alex Neil. We praise where it's due, but we would also point out errors and criticise where due. And I think that was, for me, a critical thing. I don't know. Hapless and clueless. And a well-deserved defeat, says Glenn. I've got to agree. I had a very strange experience. For those that don't know, can't be many left. I was in the 1885 club on Saturday, which is very beautiful, very pleasant. The food was gorgeous. I'd supped a few beers, listeners, so I didn't do my usual live stream, not live recording rather, because I don't really like to listen to myself when I've had a few beers. You slur and you can hear it. So anyway, hence the recorded shows of the weekend. But it did seem an oddly disconnect. I felt disconnected from the game as a result of my corporate hospitality, and the team seemed slightly disconnected. I do think choices like dropping of major players and personalities for no apparent reason, in my opinion, must seep into the opinions and attitudes of the players. Now, that we hadn't played well up at Sheffield Wednesday, but we showed enough spine to get ourselves out of trouble. I didn't see the same level of spine. Now that everyone's going to have to pull together. Alex Neil made the point post-match that we fight and play and win and lose as a team. So we've got to turn it around Wednesday night, because we can't afford to drop points, because we will descend the table, because there are many sides behind us, as we've just said, with Merv chasing us down. But we won't. We've got here by team spirit. Let's put it this way. Teams of the past have overachieved. Don't know why, but I'm thinking of the Wimbledon sides of the 1980s and 1990s, achieved levels that were disproportionate to the individuals within that team, and they got there through team spirit. It's been our great strength this season, and I do wonder that tinkering with the side as Tinkerman, who's that, Claudio Ranieri, Tinkerman Alex Neil doesn't seem quite right to me. You find your best players, you stick with them, and unless injury or illness, as in the case of Coburn Saturday, unless that forces change on you, you try and stick to the team that's got you this far and that has played so well. So yeah, I'm going to agree with Glenn's take on that one. Enough on that front. Let's have a listen now to Jim Hackett.
Morning, Nick. Jim Hackett here. Just calling in after yesterday's game and giving a couple of thoughts. I didn't call after last week's game against Sheffield Wednesday because I think everybody could see what the script was last week, and I thought it'll be interesting to see this week when we play another relegation threatened team how we get on and how the game went. And I think it was no great surprise. I think, well, not to me anyway, that the way the game went yesterday, we just looked not leggy, but we just looked like we didn't have that energy and that burst and the wherewithal to fight for the game really yesterday. And I think that was the most disappointing thing. I think we've now fell into the big trap, if you like, of having too many players to choose from. And Alex Neil, every time he has this issue of tweaking things and making things different with other players, we seem to not quite get to where we should do. And I think yesterday was a perfect example of that. Whenever we've done well this year, it's been through lack of numbers really, and we've been forced to play a certain way, and that seemed to have worked very well for us. And then yesterday, the bench looked fantastic, but unfortunately the bench didn't make that much difference to the game for us. And the team that started, they came out, I thought it came out a bit lackadaisical, and it showed as the game went on. And even though the first half was even, we could have taken the lead with Cooper's header. They didn't really have a lot to offer, but second half, getting that goal straight away sort of lifted them. You can see the energy in them, the way they wanted to play football. They played us off the park, really. They bullied us off the park. Everything that we would normally do to other teams, they did to us. And unfortunately, it's difficult to say, but I think Portsmouth well deserved their win and showed us what we were lacking yesterday. And not the worst thing in the world, because obviously we get the opportunity to put things right come Wednesday and going forward. And every now and then, when we lose badly, and it seems to galvanise everybody. So hopefully by Wednesday, Alex Neil will have got everybody together and made everybody start sort of fighting for the shirt again, because I'm not convinced that's been happening. When you looked at our back four yesterday, because they're settled, you'd expect a little bit sort of more cohesion there, but it really was a sort of poor performance from all of them. And I'm not going to comment about Patterson or Crocombe, because that's football, and Neil will be sort of paid to make those sort of decisions, and he knows what he's doing. We've all got that faith in him to get things right, so I won't sort of moan too much about that. I think our midfield, again, the two wide players, Aziz and Watson, Femi doesn't look the same player he did before that bid came in from whoever it was, Ipswich or whoever. I think since then he just seems to be a little bit of a lone figure doing his thing. And even though it's coming off every now and then, yesterday I thought he got sort of well taken out of the game, and there wasn't a lot from him. Everything he tried to do was either a little bit too much or a little bit too greedy or a little bit, I don't know, too cute. And, I want him to get back to the player he was, where he was a danger to everybody. If you looked at yesterday, it was only when he started coming inside that we got any space on the right-hand side. And maybe he's been hanging out too far on the wide position for us to get a lot of joy with Kramer going forward, because the one time Kramer did get forward properly when Femi came inside, then we actually got a goal from it. So maybe there's something to think of there. And Watson on the other side, again, it's that tweak that Alex Neil makes that I don't think was needed to be made yesterday. I thought Negley's been playing well in the position he was playing and covering well, doing all the defensive duties. And Tommy Watson, his effort isn't in question. I think he looks to me like it could be a fantastic impact sub, and maybe that's the way to go forward. Because all that's happened there is a system's changed to fit them in, and it's certainly not worked for us. I think Alex Neil's got to take account for that, but at the same time think about what we have done well and where we go going forward. I think Billy and Casper yesterday didn't seem fully on the game, but they were hassled and they were out physical yesterday, which is a sort of an odd one for them because it doesn't normally happen, but yesterday it did. And then going forward, I thought Negley and Mihailo were missing yesterday. I think Mihailo didn't look at the game at all. I think everything that came to him, again, I can't remember anything he did that actually got us on the front foot, whether it's holding the ball or bringing players into play, or he might have won a few flick-ons, but he's flicking on to nobody because he's the last man, and it didn't really suit us. And Negley, again, he huffed and puffed yesterday, but he didn't actually do any damage from that position. So I think it looks slightly different when Banham come on. I thought he actually looks like a player that get him on the ball and he will make things happen. So maybe that's the tweak, if you like, that Alex Neil could be looking for Wednesday, where either Casper or Billy drop out, Bannon goes in there, Negley goes back to where he should be playing, and maybe we get Langstaff in, because at least with Langstaff he got the energy and he can set things rolling. But we didn't have it yesterday and it didn't look great. We out-battled. Portsmouth deserved it. Unfortunately, we have these blips, and let's hope it's the last one we have this season, because we've got 13 big games coming up. We're still in a relatively good position because of everybody else's poor results yesterday, apart from Wrexham. So let's get on to Wednesday, and come on, you Lions.
Second that, Jim. Big game Wednesday night. Last time we had a poor blip was just before Christmas, wasn't it? We got beat at home by Hull City. Was that 3-1, I think, from memory? And then the week after we went to Blackburn and played very poorly there and got beat 2-0. But we managed to find something to turn it around over the Christmas period. We need to dig deep Wednesday night, listeners. What we don't want is for Saturday's poor show, and it was a poor show. And as Jim said, Pompey outplayed us, outfought us, and outthought us, F and TH. Out-tacticked us, whatever, tacticked us. That's not really a word, is it? Everything. So they deserve the win, and there's no hiding from that. But we do need to be galvanised, as Jim's just said. The Femi point is interesting. He has looked somewhat not quite the player he was. We had this with Zian Fleming, didn't we, when big money bid came in? I think Ipswich possibly with chance in their arm to unsettle a player. They've certainly seemed to have had an impact. Whether Femi would say he's unsettled or not, I don't know. And none of us truly on the outside of football know the ins and outs of what money was offered and, you know, what Femi's cut of it would have been. But if you or I had a chance of a slice of, what's the figures we've seen knocking around on the net, 15 million, 20 million I've seen quoted, I don't know. You might know, listeners, I don't know. But if you're going to get a slice of that kind of action and then you don't get it, you would feel a bit downcast afterwards. That's human nature. Now, you can all say it's wrong, he's a professional, he's still getting very well paid and he's living his dream, but it would have an impact, it would leave its mark. I think that's the way to see it. The Bannon question, yeah, I mean, I've kind of wondered where he fits into our side. I think it's probably going to be at the expense of either Casper or Billy. I think it might be Casper, to be brutal, going by Saturday's perspective. But we do need someone that can unlock banks of players in front of them. And Portsmouth, scored their goals when they had their chances, but they also defended very well against us and forced us into very predictable channels and, made us look mundane, to be quite honest. So something's got to happen on Wednesday night. Mihailo, I don't know. I don't know that he's a sole striker. He needs someone to work with him. He would need a Macaulay Langstaff to work with him, but we're not playing that kind of style. Whether we should or not is what Alex Neil gets paid his big bucks for, listeners, isn't it? Starting Wednesday, we're going to find out quite how the season will pan out. But we are still sitting in third space. Let's not lose perspective on this. I was thinking of my old mate Don Bone, who passed away last year, and his constant reminder in the old Nolu and CBL magazine articles to manage your expectations at Millwall came to my mind. So a big shout out in memory of Don. Manage your expectations, dear listeners. Let's have a listen now to Rob Woodford, and then we'll take a break for some advertisements.
What can you say about that? A reality check or what? We never really got going. We lost all the 50-50s. We never won the second balls, never pressed their keeper and back line. Portsmouth had more energy and looked well up for this one and were much quicker in transition. And what a time to have an all-round poor team performance, as too many players had an off day. Kramer and Doughty had their worst ever performances in a Millwall shirt for me, and Femi continued where he left off from previous games and overplayed things, and Ivanovic looked isolated. Why did it take so long to make significant changes? And for me, only Billy came out of that game with any credit, and perhaps a promising cameo role for Bannon in the final 10 minutes. Portsmouth were by far the superior side, and this is a bit of a worry as you wonder if Millwall are about to have a bit of a wobble. But fortunately, everyone around us in the top six lost as well. Wednesday's match is all about steadying the ship now and getting a reaction against a team that on paper are far stronger than Pompey. And with the added pressure that this one is yet another 6-pointer, and we could be back down to 5th place even before that game kicks off. Our 13-game run-in is full of 6-pointers, and 5 of the next 6 games are against teams in the top 8. A crucial block of fixtures coming up. Not a time to have a wobble. Disappointing reports are all you're going to get from your dear listeners this week, Nick. But I do hope you enjoyed your Club 1885 up in the lounge, which must have been quite a sea change from Birdshit Corner. Anyway, let's hope the gaffer gets that reaction on Wednesday night. Come on, you Wall.
Achtung, Millwall.
Club 1885, dear listeners, is a long way from Birdshit Corner, that is for sure. It's an even longer way from the halfway line of Coldblow Lane, or even the old exec lounge that they had over there. I don't know if anyone listening to this ever got into the exec lounge. I was most impressed. I remember on the one occasion that I did go in there, and that was when we played Malmo in a friendly, and that would be in the late 70s, I think. For some reason, the crowd was so low that you were allowed into the exec lounge. You could buy a beer in there, and I thought I was, quite the boy, standing in the Millwall exec lounge on the roaring lion carpet, drinking a beer, watching the football through the window there. So it is a long, long way. Let me tell you that. To Club 1885. I thought it might be worth. I did say on the other show that I did with Harry how I came to be in there, and it was a really nice gesture by the club. It was it's 10 years, if you can believe it, since we were eventually victorious in our Battle of the Den, the campaign to overturn Lewisham Council's desire to compulsory purchase our car park, the club's car park, to enable it to be used for an area-wide regeneration building project around the stadium and the South Bermondsey area under the wing of Renewal, which is a company formed out of various personalities, some of whom were from Lewisham Council back in the 80s when we had links to the council back then as well. To put it into blunt terms, the threat was that the club would up sticks and move out to the site out near the M20, M2 corridor out there. They're not far, I think, from the the training ground as was due to be out there, which is standing idle at the moment. And I think the fact that John Berylson, in his infinite wisdom, and I mean that positively, decided to buy that land, I think suddenly brought matters to a head for Lewisham. They could indeed lose their professional football club. There'd also been a change in regime at Lewisham, Catford Town Hall. The old guard, Sir Steve Bullock, who was mayor, who we went head-to-head with, and various other characters in Lewisham, changed, and there was a desire to bring matters to a positive conclusion. That's a storyline all of its own, and we might well do something. I might do something with Mickey Simpson another time to tell that story. It's quite fascinating. I find it fascinating. But we somehow, against all odds, in truth, managed to prevail when, if I'm going to be really honest with you, dear listeners, when I started, doing the whole kind of social media campaign, the bombardment, and I was well aware that I went on and on and on about it at the time, but the club's future was on the line. I didn't think we'd win it. I thought we would, if we managed to get a bit of a delay into matters, we would do very well. And I was hoping for something to arise somewhere that would win the day. Somehow we prevailed, and I still don't quite know how we did it. It was just sheer effort and sheer banging the drum. We had the lady Willow Winston standing in the general election. That was 2017. Some documents from the British Virgin Islands which were invaluable in keeping the pressure on the councillors at Lewisham, and somehow we won the day, and that was all 10 years ago. So it was a thank you from the club, and it was a really nice gesture. I want to say a big thank you to Mark Fairbrother and Max McLennan. The Club 1885 premises, listeners, incidentally pricey, in the sense that I think 250, 300 quid I think for your regular ticket. The meal was nice, the food was good, and I wouldn't, I'm not gourmet enough to tell you how it would compare with a West End level restaurant, but it was pretty good, and I enjoyed it, and the bar and the facilities are lovely. Cushioned seats, can you believe that? No bird shit on them either. And you're on the halfway line view along by the director's box. Really nice. Whether you do it on anything other than the most special of occasions, that's going to be up to you and your wallet to answer, listeners. All I'll tell you, I know it was a sellout, 19,000 crowd in the stadium, but the the expensive restaurant, Club 1885, was packed, sold out, full up. So there is a market for it. I've always believed that if there's always been this kind of myth that Millwall fans only want rough and ready, and I don't buy that. I've never bought it. I don't see why we, as whatever your politics are, listeners, but as working class fans, fundamentally, why should we settle for rough and ready? There was a lot of people in there enjoying good quality food, drink, you name it, and the service was really nice. The waiting staff, excellent. I can recommend it, but it is pricey. We happened to go through the number 11 bar, which was like a slightly reduced cost approach. That looked very nice too. Not quite at the level of 1885, because I think the prices are proportionately lower there, but certainly very pleasant. And I've got to take my hat off to the investment the club's made in their corporate hospitality. It's really, really pretty good now, listeners. Anyway, that's how I came to be in the 1885 club. I should be back in Birdshit Corner on Wednesday night. Don't worry about that. I should be back up in the top corner of Block 1. Big thank you to Rob for that message just before the break there. I don't know why I've got Kenny Rogers. You picked a fine time to produce a poor result, Millwall. If I leave me, Lucille. Do we have the ruthlessness for the running? We're going to find out very soon, listeners. Big game Wednesday, big game Saturday. That'll give us a big clue. Anyway, enough of all that. Let's have a listen to John Rankin.
Well, what did we make of that fiasco? John Rankin just calling in. I've got to say, I was kind of, I don't want to be... I was kind of half expecting this, to be honest with you. I saw Portsmouth play in the week, and they looked very, very good indeed. The way they dispatched Charlton. And I was just thinking before the game, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, Millwall. I think the management kind of realised that. People had been saying that they didn't expect us to be in this position. Our goal difference is still very poor, and we deserve to be where we are, but I think psychologically we're miles ahead of ourselves. And this was a humbler. This was a wake-up call. And I've got to say, I know it's horrible to drop 3 points at home, but I think we needed it, to be honest with you. Portsmouth outplayed us in every department. Every single duel on the pitch, they played better. They just wanted it more. And really, they did to us what we normally do to other teams. I thought our Jake Cooper had a horrendous game today, and like I always say, when players will have their poor games, right? He had one today. But when Jake Cooper plays badly, Millwall struggle as a whole. Kramer, well, that guy had him on toast. Aziz off the boil, there was nothing positive really. The only thing I can take from it is, and I've been thinking this for well over a season now, you play Casper or Billy, but not both. I really believe that now after what I saw today. I think the two cancel each other out, and they battle amongst themselves to go for the same ball, make the same passes. All right, Casper didn't all score a goal. Fair enough. Good, well played to you, mate. But for me, I think when you saw Barry Bannon come on the pitch, there was an immediate impact, and I've got to say, I think you don't start Casper Dinor at the moment. I really say that, I sort of struggled to say that really with poor old Casper, but for me, he was just completely off it today. I couldn't see what he was bringing at all, and I'm not trying to get on one player's back. He's a very good player, and you could rotate him. You could rotate Billy when he's injured and bring on Casper, but for me, you keep Negley in the 10, you put Barry Bannon in that sort of deeper midfield position, and then you've got a decent kind of base to play off and protect the back four. Our back four are slow, right? I know Kramer gets ahead of speed up, but off the mark he's very slow, very ponderous. Obviously, as are Taylor, Cooper and the other guy, Doughty. And I think, the opposition manager spotted that, and he just said, turn them round, win the ball in the middle, play the ball in behind them and see what happens. And they couldn't cope with it. So, there you are. What do I know? Alex Neil is doing the job. And we go home with our tail between our legs. We've obviously got to get a result against Birmingham. And Birmingham did turn us over with 4-0. I was there on that wet and horrible night when Birmingham beat us 4-0 earlier in the season. And again, Birmingham are playing well. I think they turned someone over today, Birmingham. They beat Norwich at Carrow Road. So this is where, this is where all the grown-ups start having to take shape. And today, talking of grown-ups, it was men against boys. I'm afraid Portsmouth for the men. There. And one thing I've got to say, one thing I do get fucking pissed off with, right, is our crowd. I mean, for fuck's sake, all these day trippers that come here, do they fucking know about Millwall? Do they understand what the fucking club's about? They stand there like gormless fucking twats. Don't fucking make a noise, don't do nothing, standing with their stupid fucking scarves on, and it drives me bonkers. If we're going to do anything in this league, we got to have proper fucking Millwall supporters there, getting behind the team, and fucking, I'm getting fed up with clubs like Portsmouth and Birmingham and all these clubs coming to the den and fucking taking the piss out of us. So I'm well fucking fucked off. Over and out. Bye now.
Well, I was 3 points in with a glass of English sparkling wine just to add to the mix, John. So I take your point, mate. I do take your point. Is the price of tourism, football tourism, listeners? You will dilute your base. This is a sellout crowd for you. How many times have we all, and I include you listening to this show, listeners, you all know that 15,000 proper Millwall fans beats a sellout, 12,000 rather, beats a sellout in terms of venom and noise. It's the way it's always been, I'm afraid. I'm not knocking tourists, but we do need to get behind the team. We are still in a massive position, third in the table. We've got to take it to Birmingham on Wednesday night, and we've got to go to Preston and hopefully get something. So, other points John's made. Yeah, good one about Bannon. Casper was, for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's the point, forcing the point you just made, John, but within the 1885 section, they'd made him man of the match. I must admit, I thought, well, what game have you been watching? I didn't think it was a great performance by anyone particularly, but I suppose Billy of the two, if I had to take a pick. And anyway, he came in. He spoke well. I like Casper. It wasn't his best game. Let's just leave it there. But he had to go through the motions of collecting a bottle of champagne and being called man of the match when he must have known he was under par. Portsmouth deserved it. Dispatched Charlton, as John says, and just on the final point I wanted to pick up on there, that we're getting ahead of ourselves. I'd not fall prey to it. It's part and parcel of following the lines. You're going to get ahead of yourself because we get so little success on the grand scale. We tend to achieve moments of illumination, so we have big results against teams. I'm thinking back here to the likes of this season, beating Southampton, beating Bristol. These are big moments. The Den atmosphere when it comes together, you're turning over a team that's so-called better placed than you are. We've never really, apart from odd occasions, achieved league success on any grand scale. So we don't quite know how to handle it, in my opinion. If we want to get up to this level, to the top level, we're going to need to find it. We're going to need to be ruthless. We've got to put these kinds of teams to the sword. And I think Saturday was a typical Millwall, not very ruthless example of that downfall. But there we are. I'm going to play you out now, listeners, with a few Bobby T's. I think it's time to cheer ourselves up and have a listen to the Bobby T. I should be back with another show tomorrow with the remainder of the voice notes. So if you haven't heard your voice note here, you will hear it tomorrow. And I apologise for cramming my day up with family matters today. But I'll be back tomorrow. So until next edition of Achtung Millwall, from me, Nick Hart, it's Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now. Take it away, Bob.
Good afternoon, Nick Hart, Achtung Millwall. First thing is, I hope you enjoyed your 1885 lovely wine and fine dinner and your champagne and your pugger pies, whatever you want to call it. I am fucking fuming. I'm just like Alex Neil, that's on you. I don't give a flying fuck you. You're changing the fucking team where, Patterson made 2 good saves. Yeah, great saves and all that. But it's like a car, like a Mercedes or a cold start for second half. Come out, Cooper slips, and then boom. So anyway, back to Patterson. Croker was doing well. And even their second goal, when Ali, the black guy, outpaced him, 2-0 bound, man. And then we get back into the game. Casper 2-1. You think, come on, But I think Croker would have done better. Yeah, Patterson's quality, great saves. But I'm fucking fuming. We lost the Pompey cunts. I'm sorry. I can't take that, and I'm losing time and patience with fucking Mihailo. He runs around like a little chicken, and there's no end product. Yeah, Langstaff. Why did Watson go off? Watson was our best player. He was bright. Ballo, Lamppost obviously sick. Whatever. Ballo. Is he just trying too hard? Do you know what? You can't win them all. You can't win them all, but. I don't know. For me, like, we weren't at the races today. First half was quite even. I get it, right? Yeah, they've come to Charlton and beat them. They've come to Arba and like, not easy, but it's like we had no fight today. Oh God, I just don't know where to continue. But yeah, Miss Lamppost. Yeah, why are you playing two defensive midfield players? I'm not saying drop Casper or Billy because they were good. And then Bannon comes on. You know, I don't know. He's like a little goblin. Yeah. I don't know. I can't really. Where can I fault today's result? Was it a smash and grab, or cold start Millwall, or was it? You tell me, Achtung Millwall and everyone. I know, like the Dan Lyons TV, Flying Scotsman. I saw Pete. I saw Kieran before the game. Like, they've come to our backyard. That's double now.
Achtung, Millwall.
Who do you want to watch?